What if I told you there is a fighter jet that can perform many of the same core missions as aircrafts costing over $70 million for less than half the price? Yes, I know it sounds impossible, and that's exactly why I think every country should be paying more attention to the JF-17 Thunder Block 3. You see, when it comes to military aviation, most people often judge fighter jets by their speed, missiles, or radar first before they get to judge them by some other important features. Fine, those features matter, but do they matter that much? Anyways, personally, I judge them by one thing first, which I feel is very important, and that's in its cost. Because back when I was in school studying project management, I was taught that almost every successful project is controlled by three major constraints, and that's time, scope, and cost. The goal is very simple: deliver the best possible results while keeping those constraints under control. Surprisingly, I feel that same idea applies to military aircraft. Every country has a defense budget. So now, if you're a country, would you just want the most capable fighter, or would you prefer one that is capable enough, affordable to buy, and affordable to keep flying? And that's right there is exactly where the JF-17 Thunderbird race stands out. You see, Pakistan and China didn't just build the world's most advanced fighter aircraft. Instead, they built a fighter that is capable of performing many of the same core multi-role missions as much more expensive Western jets, but at a fraction of the price. Now, take the F-16 for example. Depending on the variant, a new F-16 can cost anywhere from $60 to $80 million per unit. Now, the JF-17 Block 3 costs roughly $25 to $32 million depending on the configuration, and that gap is just so huge. Now I know a lot of people might think for a country $60 to $80 million is nothing. But let's not also forget that purchasing a fighter aircraft is just one thing. But can that country keep it flying for the next 20 to 30 years? Now let me tell you what this means. The JF-17 costs roughly $3,500 per flight hour to operate, compared to around $8,000 for the F-16 and over $20,000 for Eurofighter Typhoon. Now, imagine a country is spending $8,000 per flight hour for 25 years. What do you think is going to happen to their defense budget? I'm actually comparing these aircraft because they share similar role. So now you see that with the JF-17, even smaller air forces can afford to train more pilots, fly more missions, and keep more aircraft operational without exhausting their defense budget. Now you see why I said cost is very, very important. But cost alone is not the only reason why I think every country should be paying attention to it. Politics too is a factor. Now you see sometimes politics can just be as dangerous as the war itself. Now look at what happened. For years, Argentina struggled to purchase several Western fighter aircraft because many of them contained British-made components. Following the Falklands War, the United Kingdom opposed supplying military equipment that could strengthen Argentina's air force, effectively blocking several aircraft deals. Now, the JF-17 is an opportunity for countries like Argentina because it was designed without relying on any British-made components. So we've talked about price, we've talked about politics, but what does a country actually get if they ended up purchasing one of the Block 3s? Anyways, let's find out. The first thing is that purchasing this aircraft means you are purchasing versatility. Let me explain. First, the Block 3 is a lightweight multi-role fighter. That means that it isn't locked onto doing just one job. One day it is intercepting enemy aircrafts and defending objectives. The next day it's striking ground targets. Another day it's flying about gathering information. Even on special occasions it's busy attacking ships. So the Block 3 could just do it all. So instead of buying three different aircraft for three different missions, just get one Block 3 and it will get you the job done. You know how sometimes the first thing that catches your attention is how something looks, and only later do you appreciate what's inside. That's exactly this aircraft. Just take a second and look at it. It's very, very beautiful, isn't it? You see, that sleek design you are seeing right there is not just for looks. It's built around a semi-monocoque A-frame constructed primarily of aluminum alloy, making it both lightweight and structurally strong. Even better, its A-frame was designed for a service life of about 25 years or roughly 4,000 flight hours. So you see, when a country actually buys its jet, it's not just buying a fighter, it's also buying decades of service, more like having a long lasting relationship that is cheap. Yeah, let's not forget that it's cheap, it's very, very cheap. Now combine that airframe with a digital fly-by-wire system and the JF-17 becomes extremely agile, and pilots can perform aggressive combat maneuvers while pulling up to 8Gs, making it a very capable dogfighter. Now, if you've heard this sound before,
Hardpoint locked down. Hardpoint is ours.
then you probably love this next part. Now, take a guess where that sound is from. The first comment to get it actually wins nothing. The first comment to get it wins nothing. Another feature that I really like about this aircraft is its flexibility. Its engineers successfully integrated 17 different weapon types onto a single airframe. That means its operators aren't locked into one family of weapons. Depending on the mission, they can equip the aircraft with different missiles, both air-to-air and air-to-ground, different types of bombs, both guided and unguided, and all of those without having to redesign the aircraft. If you look closely at that image, you would see that the JF-17 has 7 hardpoints, and those hardpoints are capable of carrying up to 3,800 kilograms of external stores while still maintaining its agility during combat. Now, if you are still watching up to this point, just pause the video. Yeah, I mean it, pause the video. Wait, let me pause it for you. Do you see that small rounded bump just beside the air intake? Yeah, that's little thing right there. Believe it or not, that small thing right there plays one of the biggest roles in the entire aircraft. It's called the Divertless Supersonic Inlet, or you can just call it DSI. And let me explain. You see, when an aircraft is flying very fast, especially when it's flying supersonic, a layer of slow turbulent air called the boundary layer forms along the surface of the aircraft. That air isn't ideal for the engine, so the DSI separates much of that disturbed airflow before it reaches the engine, allowing a smoother and cleaner air to enter the engine. So this actually increases the effectiveness of the engine. If you still think it's not important, wait, that's not everything the DSI does. Now you see, earlier on, engineers often used things like variable intake doors, movable ramps on earlier fighters to control those boundary layer air. But being that introduced a more moving part, and the more moving part equals more maintenance, which also equals more weight, and more weight equals more fuel burn, and all those stuff simply equals more money to maintain. I remember I said earlier, cost is very important. Now you see, that little bomb solves much of that with just one simple fixed design because it's lighter, cheaper to maintain, and even on stealth aircrafts like the F-35, it even helps reduce its radar reflections. But that's something we'll talk about later on. Now, let's drop the boundary layer A and talk about the engine. The Block 3 is powered by the Russian-built Klimov RD93MA afterburning turbofan engine that pushes the aircraft to speeds of around Mach 1.8, give it a climb rate of about 59,000 feet per minute, and allows it to operate at altitudes of roughly 55,000 feet. Anyways, let's forget those numbers. What this actually means is that the jet flies faster than the speed of sound, making it able to get to the fight on time. And the rate of climb allows it to get to any desirable altitude on time. Together, they determine how quickly these aircrafts can intercept an aerial threat before it reaches its objective, making it an okay interceptor. Imagine a country's air force needs to deploy hundreds of kilometers away from its base. That isn't much of a problem because the JF-17 has a combat radius of about 900 kilometers on internal fuel, which extends to roughly 1,352 kilometers with external drop tanks. And because it supports aerial refueling, its operational reach becomes even greater, allowing it to stay in the fight longer or operate much farther from home without landing. So yes, the outside is impressive, but what about the inside? Anyways, let's find out. And trust me, I think this is where things even get more interesting. The aircraft's advanced electronic search array, or AESA radar, can detect targets at ranges of around 170 kilometers, track up to 15 targets simultaneously, and engage as many as 5 at the same time. Now, do you know what that means in battlefield? Let me tell you. As a pilot, I can see more than 15 targets from 170 kilometers away. Now, from those targets, I can decide to track or monitor 15 simultaneously. And if I want, I can shoot down 5 at the same time. Is this not cool? Is it even possible? But if it's possible, is it not cool? And the funny thing is that that's not even all. Now imagine during those operations an enemy radar or missile logs on my aircraft. Now because I have an electronic warfare suite, I can jam or deceive those enemy electronic threats while protecting my own electronic systems from being attacked. And the coolest part in all of this is that in real time I can still share my battlefield information with friendly aircraft and ground stations, all in an encrypted format, often without needing to say a word over the radio. Now, one thing I really love about this aircraft, and this is my favorite part, is that the engineers didn't just design an aircraft that could win a fight. They designed one that could help bring its pilot back home. Inside the cockpit are three large multi-function displays, giving the pilot almost every piece of flight and combat information in one place. And right in front of the pilot sits a holographic heads-up display that allows critical information to remain in view without the pilot having to look down into the cockpit. Now, during dogfights where every second matters, that's relieving a whole lot of workload on the pilot. And that's not even all. The best part is that the aircraft also introduces a head-mounted display and a sight system that allows pilots to lock onto targets simply by looking at them. Now, the pilots only need to use their head and eye movements to track and engage targets without aligning their jets directly to the enemy aircraft. Wait, does that mean that if I'm a JF-17 Thunder Block 3 pilot, I can actually track 15 targets and engage 5 of them just by using my head? If that's how it works in the battlefield, trust me, that's so cool. And the last thing inside the cockpit is the hands-on throttle and stick, which allows the pilot to control almost every important combat function without taking their hands off their primary flight controls. So the pilot spends less time pressing buttons and more time flying. Now, you could probably see why I kept calling this aircraft beautiful. Not just because of how it looks, but because of everything hidden beneath that skin. So give credit where it's due. And that's to the Pakistan Aeronautical Complex and Chengdu Aircraft Corporation. Come on, we built a fighter that offers an incredible amount of capability for its price. And that's quite impressive. Now I'm curious, after everything you've seen, do you think purchasing this fighter is worth your country's efforts, or would you prefer them to spend the extra money on something else? Let me know in the comment section, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to know how this aircraft has actually changed the Nigerian's airports, you can click on this video right there. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you. Peace.